In Kung Fu Panda, the story looks simple on the surface: an unlikely hero rises, a villain falls, balance is restored. But that's not what this story is really about. Because buried inside all the humor and action is a character most people misunderstand: Tai Lung. He isn't just a villain. He's what happens when someone builds their entire identity around a single expectation, and then watches it collapse. At the beginning of Tai Lung's story, we don't see a monster. We see a child being raised to believe he is special. Shifu trains Tai Lung from a young age, praising him, shaping him, and, most importantly, telling him he is destined for greatness. The Dragon Warrior, the Chosen One, a master raising his student to fulfill a legendary role. Discipline. Dedication. Legacy. This isn't just training, it's identity construction. Tai Lung isn't being taught skills. He's being taught who he is allowed to be. And there's a dangerous difference. When a child grows up hearing, "You are meant for something great," it doesn't always inspire them. Sometimes, it traps them. Because now their worth is no longer flexible. It's conditional. Most people have felt this, even if they've never named it. Maybe it came from parents. Maybe from society. Maybe from yourself. You're meant to succeed. You have so much potential. You can't waste this. It sounds encouraging, but underneath it, there's pressure. Because what happens if you don't become that person? Who are you then? The Dragon Warrior Ceremony. The moment Tai Lung has been waiting for his entire life. Master Oogway refuses to name Tai Lung as the Dragon Warrior. No explanation that satisfies him. Just rejection. A master making a judgment call. A student not living up to expectations. This is identity collapse. Tai Lung didn't just lose a title. He lost the only version of himself he ever believed in. Because if you spend your whole life becoming something, and then someone tells you that you're not it, you don't just feel disappointed. You feel erased. You may have been in a version of this moment. The career you thought defined you. The relationship you thought would last. The version of success you were chasing. And then suddenly, it's gone. And the painful part isn't just losing it. It's realizing you don't know who you are without it. After the rejection, Tai Lung doesn't quietly accept it. He destroys everything. He attacks the valley, lashes out violently, and demands what he believes he deserves. A villain reacting with anger. A fall from grace. This isn't just anger. It's grief, with nowhere to go. But instead of processing it, Tai Lung converts that grief into entitlement. I deserve this. It was mine. They took it from me. Because accepting the truth, that he was never guaranteed anything, would mean accepting something much harder, that his entire identity was built on something fragile. This is more common than people admit. When life doesn't go the way we planned, we don't always respond with reflection. Sometimes we respond with resentment. We blame people. We blame circumstances. We rewrite the story so we're still the hero who was wronged. Because it's easier than facing the possibility that, maybe we built our life on expectations that were never real. The Dragon Scroll. The thing Tai Lung believed would finally validate everything. He finally gets it. After all the struggle, all the destruction, he holds the scroll in his hands. And there's nothing there. Just a reflection. A twist. The power was inside all along. This is the most brutal moment in his story. Because it reveals something most people spend their lives avoiding. There was never going to be a moment that fixed everything. No title. No recognition. No external validation. The scroll doesn't give him power, because power was never something you could be handed. And for someone who built their entire life around being chosen, that realization is devastating. People chase things thinking they'll finally feel complete. The promotion, the relationship, the achievement, and sometimes, they get it, and nothing changes. Because the emptiness wasn't caused by not having it. It was caused by believing you needed it in the first place. The final confrontation. Tai Lung versus Pa. This is where the film quietly changes. Tai Lung fights Pa, expecting another opponent to dominate. Instead, Pa doesn't fight like him, doesn't think like him, doesn't validate his worldview. The villain is defeated by the hero. Tai Lung loses, not because he's weaker, but because he cannot adapt. He is trapped inside a fixed identity. I am the one who deserves this. And when reality doesn't match that identity, he breaks. Pa, on the other hand, never had that rigidity. He doesn't need to prove he's the chosen one. He just becomes who he is. And that flexibility is what makes him strong. Tai Lung represents a very specific kind of psychological trap: conditional identity. He didn't just want to be great. He needed to be great, in a very specific way. Because that's the only way he knew how to exist. And when that identity was taken away, he didn't rebuild. He collapsed. This is what happens when your self-worth depends on achievement, your identity depends on recognition, and your purpose depends on someone else choosing you. It creates a fragile sense of self. One that looks strong on the outside, but can't survive disappointment. This is where it becomes uncomfortable. Because this isn't just about Tai Lung. It's about anyone who has ever said, "I'll be okay when I finally become this." The difficult part is admitting this applies to you too. You might not destroy a village when things go wrong, but maybe you felt the quieter version of it. Bitterness when someone else succeeds, anger when life doesn't match your expectations, emptiness even after achieving something you wanted. Most people don't ruin their lives dramatically. They do it slowly. By tying their identity to something that can be taken away. By refusing to adapt when reality changes. By chasing validation instead of understanding themselves. Tai Lung didn't fail because he wasn't strong enough. He failed because he didn't know who he was without a title. And that's what makes his story tragic. Not his anger, not his violence, but the fact that, at some point, he could have been okay. If someone had told him earlier, "You don't need to become something to be something." But no one did. So he kept chasing a version of himself that only existed in someone else's expectations. And by the time he realized it, it was too late. If this story felt familiar, there's another character worth exploring. Someone who faced the same pressure, but chose a different path. Because his story isn't about becoming worthy. It's about realizing you already are. And understanding that difference might change how you see your own life.